Welcome back to Klonoa. We're still blowing up that thing we built earlier, so if we just didn't do anything, we probably would be fine.
Yeah, but do we want an entire game where we just watch Klonoa chill on his couch and drink some iced tea?
You know,
Well, that's basically just
I'm
The Sims, isn't it?
I'm going to be a slight devil's advocate here because what I'm describing is actually kind of overdone in video games lately, but it is a quirk I like when it's used in moderation, where part of the main plot's drive is that the main characters, while in the effort of being heroes, actually cause a calamity that they then have to fix. Like, I particularly like Persona 3 for that. But
oh wait, I never finished Persona 3. Let me guess, going through Tartarus caused bad shit.
No, actually going through Tartarus turns out to be necessary, but the bosses that you beat on the full moons were actually something that you shouldn't have killed because they were like fragments of death, and every time you killed one, it reunited with Death himself. And basically, once you've killed all 12, there's a countdown till the end of the world.
But weren't they like killing people or something, and you had to stop them, or?
There was an epidemic of a sort of a disease going around that was actually the shadows eating people's minds and making them go apathetic, basically turning them into vegetables. And every time you...
I remember that.
Yeah, every time you beat one of the full moon shadows, what would happen was people would temporarily get better. But then, over the course of the next month, people would get sick again. And a lot of the time, the people who were getting sick were the same people who got sick before.
Cause I remember that, because when I played the game, I think like the first 20 or so hours of the game, every time you got closer and closer to the end of the month, you'd see like more people just sort of hanging around going ugh, outside when you were like in the strip mall or whatever.
Yeah,
so
yeah, and they get more and more numerous at the end of every month. But basically, in Persona 3, one of the people who was supposed to be in charge of helping you save the world was actually trying to screw things up. So.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like,
so,
I do think that there can be, like, a certain emotional impact, too, to having to destroy something that you once created, or, like, because I think you'd probably get the same sort of feeling from, like, I'm gonna bring up Shin Megami Tensei 4 because, like, Lewis just brought up Persona. There's a point, depending on what ending you get, you always end up having to fight somebody who you were friends with before, and, like, that's always, like, really touching, so I think you could potentially get the same sort of feeling from having to blow up something you worked really hard to create earlier in the game.
I want to mention something from Infamous 2, but I know John hasn't played it yet. Do you mind spoilers for that?
No.
Well, at the end of Infamous 2, they pull a real big sucker punch, where the character who usually headlines all the good options winds up being someone who chickens out during the good ending, and you wind up having to fight and kill them. And the reverse is also true in the evil ending, where you wind up having to fight the person you ally with for most of the evil choices.
Because they were actually good for the entire time, or were they just too much of a dick?
No, well, actually, it more winds up with interest. The character who does the evil choices has less interest in self-preservation than the good one. And when you go to do the evil ending, the quote-unquote evil character is more focused on getting revenge on the bad guy than saving her own skin. So you wind up having to fight her when you ally yourself with the beast.
Oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
And so the good, quote unquote good character is just a chicken shit, and so that's why you have to fight them. Is the thing?
More like she has a really big moment of weakness, and the person who is the beast was a former friend of hers. So
okay.
So she latches on to the uncertainty of what you're doing as an excuse to try and help the beast, and before the ending she admits it, but the real rub is that in order to do the good ending you have to activate a device that kills all the people with superpowers, including yourself and most of the characters you've worked with.
Oh, that actually reminds me a lot of something that happens in Shin Megami Tensei 4 to a certain extent. One of the specific endings you end up having to, you basically in the. Okay, I don't want to spoil the ending, but like one of the endings is more self-sacrificial. Never mind. If we ever get to that game, we can talk about it. I always feel really awkward about talking about the endings of games because it's yeah, especially for like long RPGs where you play partially because of the plot.
Well, when it's a game that's been out for as long as Infamous 2, I'm usually fairly comfortable in the assumption that most people know what happens, but
or at least most people who are interested, at the very least. Like,
yeah. It's kind of like there's a certain time buffer where spoilers aren't really spoilers anymore. It's like, oh, Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. Big surprise.
Rosebud was a sled? Ah, shit. Didn't see that coming.
Dumbledore dies, and Snape killed him. Sorry, I did it wrong.
Harry
My
survives.
To be fair, that's what everyone did when the final book came out. Just turned to the last page.
Reading the last page first.
Could they have
Shame
made
on
that
you.
ending any more inane? Well, probably. Now that I think about it, it's always possible.
To be honest, the only real problems with the only real problem with the epilogue in Book 7 was the names. The names were terrible.
Oh, what, the names for the kids, I think it was?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's disappointing because J.K. Rowling usually does such good work with names too.
I still haven't seen the movie adaptations of Book 7.
I only saw Book 7 Part 1. I did not like Deathly Hallows Part 1 at all. It was so boring.
It did. People are quick to point me out like this sound clip, how Voldemort laughs in one particular scene. Like, I love the sound clip alone for that. But
Here's the problem with Book 7, with Movie 7 Part 1. Okay, it covers the most boring half of the movie exclusively.
Well,
you talking about the camp?
Well, that's why I never finished Deathly Hallows. Like reading it, I looked up a plot synopsis after the fact because like I got so bored of Harry Potter going camping. Like, so bored. The beginning, like, the first couple of chapters were great, and then Harry just goes camping for the rest of the book, and I can't...
I agree that the camping part was the worst part about Deathly Hallows, but I found the overall book to be more engaging than any other book in, like, recent memory, because I'll tell you the book that I had the hardest time reading was Order of the Phoenix. Like, I just could not finish it for the life of me for years, until Deathly Hallows was the thing. I was like, okay, you know what? I probably should pick it up again. Or I could just cop out and watch the movie. I'll probably get the same amount of joy out of just reading the book.
The main issue with Order of the Phoenix was that it really needed editing. Like, it very badly needed editing. Like, the adverbs are all over the place. There's too much in the book. It's the longest book in the series by far, and not because...
I wonder what Harry Potter had for lunch today.
Yeah, it's like...
Well, there's plenty of that in all of the books, which makes sense, because, like, that's part of what they're going for, like, you know, him being in school. It's just, Harry being in school is a lot more interesting than having Harry sit around a campfire.
Here's the thing. Order of the Phoenix was the first book where the editors didn't really have as much pull anymore. Like, there are subplots that got killed during editing in Goblet of Fire, which was the first really long one, and the books after Order of the Phoenix are like, okay, Order of the Phoenix is larger than Half-Blood Prince and Deathly Hallows, but it also has more words per page in the American version. The words are crunched closer together, and the margins are smaller.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I don't really remember that.
Yeah, I have it on my shelf. It's one of the things I noticed while I was reading through the series, like, years and years ago, is that Order of the Phoenix has just more words per page. It also has, like, a couple hundred more pages, though. It's really, really, really long. And
That's, I think,
it's got some of the most interesting plot in the series. The most interesting side villain, the most interesting overall atmosphere, but it's also got so much fluff.
I think that's what killed me the most about it.
Order of the Phoenix is the one with the new principal, right?
Dolores Umbridge, the most loathsome character in the series, in my opinion. and like a scene stealer whenever she's on screen in the book, at least. I'm not as fond of her in the movie. Like, I thought she could have been better cast, but what was I getting at? What I was getting at was mainly like the stuff that happens is great, but then you have this side plot with Grop, Hagrid's brother, that takes up so much goddamn space, only for Grop to show up for 2 minutes at the end of the book and be a deus ex machina so they can get out of the sticky situation. So the payoff was lame, and then you expect Grop to come back as a significant thing later on, but he doesn't. He just appears in the background during the battle at Hogwarts.
I think, that's actually part of the problem with series getting too successful is that once you have it established that the creator knows what they're doing, people start to back off on them and let them do their own thing, which is not always what's best for the final product, which I think you can...
I mean, the George Lucas problem.
No, the George Lucas, and I also think the Peter Jackson problem, too, because...
You want to elaborate on that?
Because Peter Jackson needs to be told when no, sometimes.
Put it down!
No, we do not care about... We do not want this movie to be 6 hours long, Peter Jackson. No. No, we do not need another scene with dinosaurs
So what you're
in it.
saying is that it's not long enough.
No.
Well, J.K. Rowling got better about editing later on after Order of the Phoenix. The writing just generally improved. So I mind it more when writers don't improve about their faults. And in this case, thankfully, she did.
I might have just been Harry Pottered out, though, at that point, because I marathoned the first 4 books.
Oh, yeah, well, that would definitely do it.
But the thing is, like, I had a pretty decent time. Like, A Prisoner of Azkaban made me doze off at some points, but I read Goblet of Fire in a week's time, and I never usually read that many pages of a book in that short amount of time. I was enjoying the narrative. It's by Order of the Phoenix. It's like I got to I'm like chapter 6 or 7, and I was like, oh man, I'm so tired. And then I just put it down, and that's all she wrote. Wasn't until Deathly Hallows that I picked it back up.
Order of the Phoenix is the one where they actually go to the Sorting Hat ceremony, right? There's no shenanigans about them getting to Hogwarts, so it's just like, yeah, they got there normally this time. So, I think the beginning wasn't...
Oh, shit, this doesn't usually happen. What do we do?
Yeah, I remember, the second, third, and fourth books all had some sort of hijinks going on about them just getting there, so it was more interesting right at the beginning. I think that might have had something to do with it too.
Well, Order of the Phoenix's shenanigans all happened before the school year. That whole deal with the with the trial going on and the government being a pain in the ass.
Oh yeah, that. Why was he on trial again?
Because they wanted to discredit Harry Potter and Dumbledore, so they latched onto the first opportunity to charge him with something, which happens to be underage magic in front of a muggle. What actually happened was a Dementor attacked Harry in an alley that you later found out was sent by Dolores Umbridge, without the rest of the government knowing, because she wanted to silence the liar. Dolores Umbridge is a real piece of work, but,
That's just a nice way of saying a bitch.
yeah, more or less. We launched on this big whole Harry Potter tangent. What was our original point?
Never eat raspberries.
No, it was spoilers. That's what it was. It was spoilers.
Yeah, Shin Megami Tensei and Persona spoilers.
Oh, man. Oh man! But we were talking about Deathly Hallows the movie, Part 1, being the most boring part of the book, and Deathly Hallows didn't actually spend as much time as it feels like on the camping stuff, but that's mostly what Part 1 was.
Look at the arc can no longer take our Harry Potter tangent.
It's like
make him shut up.
I think the camping stuff takes less than a quarter of the book, and everything after the second half is high-flying adventure stuff. But the movie just felt like it took so much longer to get through that stuff.
You know what? It's Hollywood's fault. They wanted to split it up into 2 movies in order to get more money, so they needed to pad out the camping in order to make it fill an entire movie.
Well, honestly, no. I'm not going to blame Hollywood for that, because here's the thing. Okay, Deathly Hallows is technically shorter than Order of the Phoenix. A little tiny bit longer than Half-Blood Prince. Okay, it covers an entire year's time, but more happens during the year. Whereas the other 6 Harry Potter books have a lot of passage of time stuff that you can safely cut out of a movie.
Yeah, it's a matter of how important the details are.
Yeah, and the first half of Deathly Hallows, the camping stuff specifically, in the context of Book 7, kind of made it feel like J.K. Rowling was trying to keep to the 7-year formula a little too hard, and trying to make time pass, like, so that the book did in fact take a year to finish.
Is she secretly dying?
No, she's not secretly dying. She's actually dying. Or she's just hurt or something.
His stomachache.
Wait. So, oh wait, she's just talking to herself in
Yeah.
third person. I thought, like, because I never heard her refer to herself as a sky pirate before, so it was just like, what? Oh wait, that's you. Oh, well, you don't get to add fancy subtitles to your name at the very end. No, you don't get to do that.
You know.
Okay, fine. I am now Ted, the super awesome fantastical.
You know, this
That
is
is my
just
subtitle.
This is just a thought, and I realize this is mostly my fault at this point, but we might actually know what's going on if we talked about the game.
Well, is there something to talk about? Is the real question.
We'll find out next time.
Ooh.
That means no. Okay.